Ben from Midland State, BBC. Welcome, first of all.
Okay.
Obvious question. Why make the move? Why Stoke?
I think that looking at Stoke, looking at the ownership, looking at how the club's run, and I think as a manager, I think there's certain requirements that you would want to have in your role, and I think the requirements for me are available here, and I think that it becomes a good fit for me.
A lot of the fans seem disheartened by the football. I mean, if you've got a message from the type of football, we've seen the type of football you play, but they want to change style. The ones we've talked to today want to see something different. What can you bring for them?
They want to change what? Sorry, style?
The style, yeah. They want more attacking football. They want more possibly direct football than they've had.
Well, I think what we're trying and win games. I mean, I think that's the most important thing in football. Let's be honest. So, and we'll do it in a manner which will give us the best chance with the players we've got in the team. I think we've got very good technical players. I think we've got very good attacking options, and I think we want to try and utilise them as best we can. And yeah, but there will be games. Obviously, you're going to have to defend. You can't just go gung ho and be ultimate attacking. So, but I think the balance. I think in my teams I've had in the past, we've managed to strike that balance well. And I think we've got some really good players here that are very good going forward. So I don't see that being an issue.
You've come from a club with high expectations to a club, again, with the fans have got very high expectations and want to be back in the Premier League. I guess that's the ultimate aim. But how big a job is this?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at Stoke, it's in different ways, obviously. The clubs that I've went to before, going all the way back to Norwich, really, was a club came down for the Premier League. They were disappointed they got relegated. They weren't having a good season. They wanted to get out of the division. There's high pressure because it was a sort of Premier League team, and their roles and jobs seem to have always brought the best out in me. Because I managed to get Norwich up that season. Sunderland, not too dissimilar in terms of the fact that they were disappointed with where they were at that time. Obviously, I got brought in to try and get them out of the division, which I managed to do. And I think Stoke are in a similar sort of situation in the fact that the last few years, for different reasons and different circumstances, they wouldn't have been happy with where they've finished in the league and where they've ended up. And now they want to try and push on, get out of the division, be competitive and try and get out of the league. And I think certainly my track record suggests that I've done that before.
In terms of the players, having met them, having spoken to them, you'll know a lot about them. You played them a week ago, Sunderland manager. But I mean, have you already set goals? I'm sure you're not going to tell us what those are, but have you already set goals, spoken to the players? They know what you want.
No, I think I don't generally set goals in terms of the entirety of the season. The next goal that I've set is to try and win the next game, because there's no point talking about trying to get promoted and try to do this and try to do that if you can't win the next game. The next game's the most important game. That's the way I've always worked. I don't focus on things too far down the line. Obviously, there needs to be planning, but that's a completely different thought process and a different entity in terms of me dealing with the team. The lads, when you're dealing with the football team, it's what happens the next day that matters, what happens the next game that matters. I mean, it really is short-termism in terms of the team, how we're going to perform, how we're going to play, who's playing, because that's going to alter and it's going to change week to week, sort of day to day, depending on who's available and different things like that. So I don't think, in that respect, I plan too far ahead in terms of the games.
For you personally, closer to home, I mean, it's a more, does that...
You're looking at the map?
Well, a little bit. I mean, is it more of a benefit to sort of, with family and stuff like that, and to be here rather than be in Sunderland? Does that benefit you at all?
Listen, what I will say, it's not a defining factor. Do you know what I mean? So it's not as if something where I thought, oh, great, it's like an extra half hour that I don't need to drive. Do you know what I mean? The simple fact is, I've travelled wherever I've worked, and I put my heart and soul into every job that I've had. So I don't cut corners anywhere I go, and I make sure that everything that I've got gets dedicated to the club, and I do my utmost to try and win games and get myself invested in the team and try to get the place going. So that doesn't change irrespective of whether it's round the corner or whether it's 3 hours away.
Just finally, the fans. We know what the fans can be like here. We've seen it both in the Championship and the Premier League as well. I mean, passionate again, just like Sunderland were, just like every club. But they really have. They're really important, aren't they? Here, they really can make a massive difference here.
Yeah, I think when you've got big crowds, when you go to big clubs, what happens is the fan base naturally has a big bearing on your home matches, because if they don't like what they see, they're not going to like it, and they're going to make you aware. If they do like what you see, then they're going to back the team. I mean, my job's to make sure that when fans come and watch Stoke team, that the lads leave everything on the pitch. They couldn't have done any more, and you can relate to the team. And if you can relate to the team, you'll back the team. If you can back the team, you'll support the team, you'll believe in the team, and what will happen is everybody will then, you'll create a good culture amongst the club, and everybody will be looking forward to the next games, everybody will be backing the players, and the players will have belief in themselves as well as each other. You know, and that's not easy to do, but that's the aim, and if we can get to that point, we give ourselves a real chance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
ITV now, please.
Hello, I'm Rachel from ITV Central.
Oh, yeah.
So, what are your ambitions for Stoke City?
Well, my ambitions, if we're going sort of longer term, and when I mean longer term, it doesn't necessarily mean this season, next season, or the season after, whatever that may be. Stoke, we want to get back to the Premier League. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. So, like I said earlier, I'm not going to put a time frame on that. You know, I don't know how soon or maybe how not soon that may be, but that's got to be the aim. You know, the simple fact is we've got owners here that basically put everything they've got that they're possibly allowed to into the team, into the club. They fully back it, and my job's to make sure that I come here and I fix what needs fixing for them, and make sure that we give them a really competitive team on the pitch, and that we're competing and challenging to get out of this league.
And why have you decided to leave a club who are positioned higher in the table than the club that you've just taken over?
Well, like I said to you earlier, I think what happens is you've got requirements as a manager, do you know what I mean, individually, and you've got two facets, haven't you? You've got what happens on the pitch and what happens off the pitch when you're a manager at football. And what happened on the pitch at Sunderland was superb. And the players, the staff, the fans deserve all the credit for that, you know. But there's other requirements that I need to fulfil for myself that allow me to do my job as best as I possibly can. And like I say, I think those requirements for me are best suited here. So that's pretty much it. I'm not going to get into more detail than that, because I feel as if it wouldn't be right for me to do that. Do you know what I mean? Everybody who's involved in the situation knows the situation, and people will come up with their own perceived idea of what happened, and that's up to them. What I'm not going to do is I'm certainly not going to start saying anything that I don't feel is appropriate.
Are you confident that you have the right players to work with to take the club forward?
I think we've got very talented players, yeah. But what I will say is talent's a secondary thing behind hard work for me. You know, I think if we can get talented players working really hard, working together, working in a functional group that balances each other out, then that's where we'll gain success. So talent alone isn't enough. Do you know what I mean? We need to make sure that we're willing to put the hard yards in, and we'll match anybody stride for stride and tackle for tackle and all that sort of stuff, and then that's when talent really does matter. Because if you can match all the easy side of the game, if you like, in terms of the hard graft, then your best players will naturally come to the fore.
Okay, and just lastly, have you got a message for the Stoke City supporters?
Yeah, I think the message would be, obviously, they've got to back the team. You know, that's the biggest thing. And what I will say, it's not easy to back any team. I'm a football supporter myself, and just in general. So when you're not happy with what you see, then naturally, I mean, it's hard to then get behind that. So I'll do my very best to make sure that what they see, they like, hopefully. And then for that point, if they can certainly support the team, that will certainly give us a better opportunity of being successful. There's absolutely no doubts about that.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Alexandra Smith, pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You've had the good fortune to watch Stoke play against Sunderland, who you were managing at the time. You saw a good first 45 minutes and a not so good second 45 minutes, and then at Blackburn you saw an outstanding first 45 minutes and a battling performance in the second half. How much confidence should that have given the team, and how have you found training with them?
I found the lads to be great, you know, but it's like the first day at school, isn't it, when I come in, for me and for them, you know, because obviously we're sussing each other out, everybody's sort of looking, thinking, I mean, how's this going to go, what's going to happen, try to create sort of relationships and different things like that. It's really important. You want to do that as quickly as possible. You need to try and get as much detail into the lads for the next game as possible, so there's huge amounts of work to be done, but what the lads did show is the fact that they've got really good quality. They can win games, they can dig in the second half, as you say, and you're going to need all those qualities across the season, because you need to be able to win games in different manners in the Championship. You know, there's not one sort of suit fits all, if you like, in terms of playing all the sides, because every side's very different. You know, Swansea, for instance, are a really unique team in the league, and the fact that they average over 65% possession every game, that's not normal. So we're going to have to make sure that we're ready to manage that type of game and be prepared to do what needs done to win.
What can fans expect from your first team, and what threats, apart from the possession stats you just mentioned, does Swansea pose tomorrow?
Well, what I'm hoping is that we look really organised. I think there'll be a good work ethic among the group. I think there'll be good opportunities for us to attack. I think that hopefully we can see some of our sort of attacking flair coming out with some of the players. It's going to be a tough game, like every game in the Championship is, but we want to sort of imprint our style onto Swansea and make sure that we try and get the better of the game. But Swansea are a good side. You know, I know obviously results maybe not reflect that, but I think some of the games, their performances haven't merited the results. You know, I think I watched the Blackburn game in particular, and Blackburn won the game, but Swansea easily could have scored 3 or 4 goals in that game. You know, like really sort of gilt-edged chances that they could have taken.
The 4 forwards you've got at your disposal, I might be speaking out of turn, I hope not, but I think most Championship clubs would bite your hands off for those 4 players. It's going to be exciting for you to work with their different strengths and combinations and hopefully get the goals.
Yeah, obviously I think we've got a good balance in terms of the strikers. I've been fortunate enough to work with some really good forwards in previous clubs. You know, I think that they've been very good as well. So what I will say, if you play at Championship level as a player, you're a good player. I mean, there's no doubts about that. So as far as I'm concerned, I've just got to try and make sure that I maximise what their strengths are. I make sure I try and balance the rest of the team out to supply whatever, whether it's they need plenty of crosses or whether they need balls in behind or they need balls fed into their feet. I need to come up with a sort of structure that allows us to play, which suits the players that are going to affect the games most. You know, and I think that's what I've tried to do everywhere I've been. You know, people will say, he plays this way all the time. I play at different shapes and different formations pretty much at every club I've been. None of my teams have been the same. And because I do it around the players rather than the players trying to have to fit my style, I can fluctuate to any style. It doesn't really matter.
And on the injury front, is there any injuries from Saturday's game?
From Saturday's game, no, I don't believe there is, no.
And looking further forward, the transfer window's almost about to close. Do you have any room to manoeuvre in the transfer window? I mean, are you going to send any young players out on loan or bring anybody in?
Obviously, we've got, well, certainly time restrictions at the moment, which is difficult. All I would say in the transfer market, regardless of what club you're at, never say never, because anything can happen. You know, you might get a late bid on someone, somebody might come up that you didn't expect. All I would say is if we can improve the squad between now and the end of the window, within the constraints we've got, then we'll do everything, because as I said earlier, the ownership literally will put everything that they possibly can into helping the team. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a great starting point for me.
Well, thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Just a couple from you then, George.
Alex, obviously, as you've already alluded to, you've got a very talented squad. Is it just a matter of utilising that talent and utilising to the best of their ability? Because from time to time, one of the criticisms was there was round pegs in square holes, etc., etc. Is that something you've got to work on?
Yeah, all I will say at the moment, though, in regards to that, I wouldn't disagree with that. But see, right now, irrespective of what formation that I would pick out right now, I think the way the squad's been constructed, there is certain areas that we haven't got players in just now, due to injuries and certain things like that. You know, so I think in whatever way you sort of going to construct it, there's going to be lads at this moment in time, unfortunately due to injury, that people would argue that isn't his number one position, because the likes of Josh Tymon's a big loss, the likes of Harry Clark's been a big loss, Harry Souttar's been a big loss. So at this moment in time, there will unfortunately be maybe a lad or two in a position where if everybody's fit and available, the likelihood is they wouldn't play.
And obviously you say Swansea come here really maybe not in the best form in terms of when we look at the league table, but they are an attacking side, aren't they? And they do have a lot of possession. That's one of the things you've got to be mindful of, isn't it?
Every game's a different challenge in this league, you know, for very different reasons. It's different formations, different styles, different personnel, and that's what you've got to cope with in the Championship if you want to be successful. But listen, I've been in the Championship a long time now. You know, I've been promoted for the Championship. I know what it looks like to be successful at this level. I'm really confident that given time and support, which I'll most certainly get here, that I can get the job done.
You've literally got to hit the ground running, but you're looking forward to this game tomorrow night, aren't you?
Yeah, of course. Listen, everything's a challenge in football. Do you know what I mean? The way you describe it, it's like a never-ending mountain climb, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You think you're at the top, and then you look up and there's another mountain to climb, because irrespective of whether we gain promotion or we make the playoffs or we do whatever, there's always more. There's always the next bit. Do you know what I mean? Because if you do get up, you need to stay up. If you get to the playoffs, you need to win the playoffs. Do you know what I mean? If you don't win the playoffs, we need to get the playoffs next year. We need to do better. So it's never ending, and sort of in terms of trying to get the team where you want it to get to. What we've got to do is we've got to understand currently where we are, okay? Because we've been bottom half of the championship for a number of years now. We need to improve on that dramatically to start with, and then let's see where we go for there.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Just one for Dave, and then we'll go in here. Thank you.
Alex, you were in that seat just over a week ago, and one of the points that you made was that your Sunderland squad, particularly the players you played that day, had very little experience in the Championship. That's why you were so pleased that they'd done so well. But how would you compare that squad with the squad that you're now inheriting?
Well, it's very different in the sense that I think the majority of the lads here, obviously there will be one or two, but the majority of the lads here have got Championship experience. Do you know what I mean? I'll be honest with you, that's not, like, obviously people want to paint narratives, don't they, as to why I've came here. Do you know what I mean? Like, as I said to you, there's been a lot of sort of false things been written about this, that and everything else, and that listen, people can put their own views out, that's fine. The fact is, in my opinion at the moment, Stoke's a great proposition for me, and I'm really looking forward to working here. That really is as simple as it is. So we can sort of dress the question up whatever way we like. The squad here has played it. I'm not stupid. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Honest, I wasn't fishing.
Yeah, but that's the way it's going to get read into.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The simple fact is the squad here is very capable, it's very talented, but as I said, we need them to work extremely hard, because without hard work, the rest of it doesn't matter. So that's the first port of call, and then beyond that, we can hopefully get some of the lads shown exactly what they're capable of doing, and if we can get to that point, I believe we'll have real success.